It's got built-in data analysis and reporting capabilities. You've got flexible deployment, again, on-premise or cloud, and it's a one-stop shop for analytics. Some testimonials and case studies of users of planning analytics just from different areas. You read over those. And just a quick survey that IBM did of people that had actually implemented planning analytics. They came back to them a year after the fact and said, what is your takeaway? So 63% of those companies had a reduction in labor, the amount of time needed to complete the annual budget, right? And we'll go over that example of that hospitality company here in a minute. 80% faster time of financial reporting data, so that's your actuals on a monthly basis. So rolling up all those actuals, doing allocations, doing your final reporting, and then 70% fewer labor hours required to complete the forecasting analysis cycle, just overall. So more time to actually look at the data and less time actually churning and populating the data. So this is kind of the example that we were looking at before with the hotel company. This particular company was formed in 2007. They had 350 hotels. They were doing that quarterly forecast, which was taking 10 to 11 weeks to complete. After the implementation of planning analytics, we got that process down to 3 weeks to complete. And then their financial close process for actuals was down to 5 days from a 2-week time frame. They estimated they would saved about $1 million a year by implementing the software and just not having those accountants churning data full time. Okay. Here's some examples of some of our customers across a bunch of different industries. There are many of them. So Planning Analytics is a platform that you can use pretty much with any company that you come across. Okay. All right. So I'm going to jump over to the demo now. And hopefully my demo environment is still active here. And we'll get started. So let me maximize this. Okay. All right. So we're starting off in the Planning Analytics Workspace tool. This is the web-based front end to Planning Analytics. Depending on the security access that you have, when you log in, you're going to see different areas here. I'm logged in as an administrator, so I see all of the different areas that are available. The first section is applications and plans. This is where you can create basically an action item plan for somebody to go through to maybe review steps in a process. You could create a workflow to do your budget or forecast with the steps that are needed, with approvals on each step, and due dates and an email integration with that. And that's what an application and plan is. A report and analysis, those are actually your dashboards or reports that are saved. When you save those, there's a shared area and a personal area. Anything that you save in your personal area cannot be seen by anybody else. Anything saved in the shared area has to be put there by an administrator to share with other users. If you do create something personal, you can share those with individual users. If you have one-off, you want somebody to look at something, you're not just sitting in a silo by yourself. You could say, hey, Susie, can you look at this report? I'm going to give you read access to it. It copies that report basically into Susie's personal section so she can review and edit it if she needs to. The data and models is kind of the back end of the system. So that's where we determine and set up our dimensions and our cubes behind the scenes. So a cube, just think of it as a big pivot table kind of behind the scenes that's kind of aggregating data across time, across cost centers, across versions, etc. And then dimensions are those things that we're aggregating by. So we've got a time dimension, we've got a version dimension, we've got a cost center dimension, a count dimension, etc. And if you're a system administrator or modeler, you can go into this area and actually make changes to those roll-ups, consolidations, business rules, etc., kind of behind the scenes and make those changes there. And then finally, the administration area This is where you can actually go in, see what's running on the server. You can restart the server if need be. You can kick users off. You can see what they're running kind of behind the scenes, and if things are bogged up, you can look at that queue, etc. To start the demo, we're going to actually go into an application, and my applications I've got hyperlinked down here as a shortcut. We're going to open up the 24 Retail Financial Review application. So when I open that up, it will actually open this up on a screen. And first thing it does is it says, I've got an announcement. So the April 2021 financial statements are ready. Please review and make any updates to your plan by May 2nd, 2022. And then you can show all the tasks associated with that. So in this workflow, I've got 6 things that corporate is asking everybody to do. Now, when somebody logs in, their security automatically takes over. So if I can only see data on one particular organization, my data is going to be limited to only that organization that I can see. If it's, I can't see payroll information, when I go to headcount analysis, I wouldn't see anything. So there's that security kind of running behind the scenes as well. I'm going to start off though by going to this dashboard. And the dashboard displays on the right-hand side, and we'll see we've got some visualizations up here that like what we were looking at before. I can look at my Q2 actuals at this point. I could switch and look at budget if I wanted to. You'll notice all the numbers and the charts and the graphs and visualizations change based upon my selections here. I'm going to go back to actual. And down on the lower right-hand corner, this is a built-in what's called a scorecard into Planning Analytics. A scorecard is simply take certain things that you want to compare across versions, and it automatically creates a variance percentage, and a traffic lighting associated with that comparison. So here we're looking at gross margin, the components of gross margin, total expenses, net profit, allocations, and net profit after allocations. And we said we wanted to compare actual, budget, and that's it. Okay, so when we drop these into the scorecard, it creates this variance for us automatically. It creates the variance percentage automatically, and then it puts the status on there, which can be overwritten. So your tolerances can be changed based upon each account, if you will, behind the scenes. But this changes over time. So if I come up here and say change it to first quarter, right? You'll notice my traffic lighting changed. I've got more in green now, right? Because it re-traffic lighted it based upon the Q1 totals instead of the Q2. It also does a trending. So this is trending over time. So Q1, there's no trend yet. But if I come to Q2, it tells me what the trend is for that data. A flat trend just means that it's pretty much staying consistent. It's not getting better or worse. The red down arrow means that it's getting worse. So it got worse from Q1 to Q2. So this may be something that you hone in on, that you do some more analysis on, but that's an automatic functionality there. Okay. I'm going to go back to the left-hand side. And go up to the financial summary. So this is a little bit lower level of detail. Here I can look at the company structure here. So if I click on this, I can actually look at my states rolling up to regions, and I can make changes on that. So as I scroll through these different regions, etc., I see the data that's rolling up to that region for a particular year and for a particular version. Okay, so I can do my analysis right here on the screen, etc. Okay, I'm going to go to the budget now, and we're going to look at the total company budget at this point for 2021. So not only am I looking at actuals now at this point, but I'm also looking at my budget. And I'm going to see, does my budget maybe need to be changed or updated for some things that are happening in the company, right? So right now I've got a total year budget for 2021 for the entire company for gross revenue of 102 million 434 534, right? And we want to maybe make some changes to the revenue side of that and see how those changes in revenue are going to impact our total net income or total net profit for the year, which is right now 33,235,000. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to my revenue area and I'm going to jump to this units area. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make some changes to my unit budget for 2021. And then we'll go through and kind of figure out how it's going to figure out what the new revenue is, et cetera. But before I do that, I'm going to come up here and I'm going to edit this. And I'm going to create what's called a sandbox. A sandbox is it's an area that is created within Planning Analytics that allows you to manipulate and play with the data in a separate version than what your real budget is, right? So you can create a sandbox, see what the differences are between your original budget and what the sandbox is, and then you can decide at the end if you actually want to push those changes all the way through. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come create a new sandbox. I click on the right button, create a new sandbox. And I'm going to say that we're going to do some revenue adjustments. And I'm going to click create. And what this did behind the scenes is it copied all that data from that base, all the versions, right? Budget, actuals, etc., into my revenue adjustments sandbox. And now I can make changes on this this thing. So let's say we know that we're going to increase our 5G smartphones total sales for the year by 25%. That's our target. And we want to see how that's going to impact our bottom line. What I can do is I can right click on this year total, right? This is just adding up the columns to the right. I can use what's called a data spread in the tool. And these are built-in functionality that comes with Planning Analytics. I'm going to go to spread data, and I'm going to automatically increase the percentage of that by 25%, and I'm going to add 25% to the total. And when I click apply, you'll notice it highlighted a whole bunch of stuff in blue. Well, the reason it highlighted all these products underneath 5G smartphones is because these roll up to 5G smartphones, right? It also updated the phone total. And then if I scrolled all the way to the top, maybe, no, I don't have total products up there, but it also updated total products in the hierarchy too. I didn't say to limit it to a particular time period, so it did it for all time periods that I'm looking at right now. And I can actually see that my new units sold for phones, 181,518. We'll see in a minute what that did to our net income. Wanted to jump over real quick and look at some product assumptions that are kind of behind the scenes too. So this is how we're driving what our unit price and unit cost are by product. So here I can switch different products and I can drive what the different prices and costs are. So if I wanted to be able to change, for instance, my cost or my price that I'm selling that product to for a particular month or for across the board, I could do that right here in this product assumption tab. And that's going to also affect my revenue. Okay, so we're going to jump, now that I've made that change, I'm going to jump back over to this financial area here. And I'm going to edit this one, and I'm going to point that one in my sandbox. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to say, show me what my revenue adjustments are. Okay, notice the blue has carried across. So the blue has pushed all the way through the entire model because it's all integrated, right? I was in the revenue model It pushed that all the way through to my income statement. It changed my cost of sales. It changed my gross revenue. It changed my net profit. So I can see that if I increased the 5G phones by 25%, I could actually get to a 34,244,544 instead of where I was at, which was back at my base, 33,235, 262. So I can choose at this point to either save that sandbox and commit all of those changes all at once across the board, or I could keep my budget where it's at for right now. Okay. All right. We also have the ability to do AI-based forecasts. So the tool Planning Analytics has got an AI capability to it as well, where it can automatically predict and forecast. In this case, we're going to forecast volume. So to do that, I will go back to my units and question, will they ever be able to share sandboxes? That functionality is coming. So yes, I would say in the next quarter or so, we should be able to share sandboxes amongst groups. Right now, sandboxes are private. Good question. Thank you. So we are going to jump over to this volume forecast, right? And we're going to look at this data here. We've got products all the way back through January of 19, and we've got the actuals posted all the way through to December of 2021. But we have no forecast in this version from January 22 forward, right? And we want to forecast out 22 and 23, okay? And if I drill down on these, I can actually see the individual products and the hierarchies, etc. Let's say we want to just do the forecasting for this one particular product, right? And I want the system to tell me, predict what it thinks that forecast needs to be for January 2022 through December 2023. What I can do is I can select the product that I want to forecast, and I come up here and I just click this forecast button. And the first thing it says is, tell me when the forecast needs to start. So I'm going to start it at January 2022. And I'm going to end it at December 2023. Okay. And then I'm going to click on preview. Okay. And what this has done is this has told me this is where my actual data is actually landing for this particular product that we're looking at, this 5G 32 gigabyte phone. What it's telling me is this is its interval, confidence interval here, and this is what it's going to forecast that out as far as units. And that's based on history, seasonality, etc. And if I look at the details, it actually tells me this is a 51% predictive accuracy that it thinks. It actually tells me some of the statistics around that model for people that are smarter than I am of the statistical modeling capabilities here. It's telling me the strength, the seasonality, etc. And if I go back, preview, and then close that, I can actually go back and forecast now, and it will actually push that forecast into my model right here. And so we'll see now that we do have forecast for that one product, rolled it all up. And you'll notice the blue little hashtag there on the right-hand side indicates that there's a comment associated with that. If I come to comments, it actually stores all of the information that it used to predict that forecast in the first period that it started at. So I can come back here at any point in time and take a look at those comments associated with that predicted forecast. Okay. All right. So we also have the ability to do stuff like headcount. Okay. So I'm going to jump out of this, I'm going to go back to my workflow here. And so we've done the reviewed performance. We looked at actuals versus budget. We looked at the revenue. We made some revenue adjustments to our budget. Looking forward, we're going to go into headcount analysis now and look at the headcount tab. So not only are we bringing in financial information, we're also bringing in HR payroll information in this model too. And this model is all the way down to the employee level. So here I'm looking at a particular state, a year, and version. Okay, so these are all the people that are in my organization for 2021 at actuals. I could come over here to budget, and I can see what I budgeted and see how that changes. If I'm on budget or forecast, I could actually add a new person. So here we're going to add a new employee. When you pick the job type, it will automatically filter down the job codes. So we're going to say that Annie's an executive. She's a new president. When you pick the job code, it puts in a default salary based upon that job code and that division as a suggestion, right? I can override that job current salary if I want to right here. Don't have to, but I do need to give it an FTE. So Annie's going to be full-time here. And we're going to override that to $135,000. And her merit period will be in March, right? And you'll notice as I'm keying all this stuff in, the rest of it's filling in and calculating automatically. So it says, the salary is $135,000. The total new salary at the end of the year will be $141,750 after the increase, the merit increase, and the total cost to the company for Annie is $174,639. Right? It automatically updated my FTE totals and my compensation totals as well. And I could actually come in here and look at an individual person too. So I could come over here and say, okay, show me for budget. I want to look at the detail for that new person. So I'm going to do, no, it's not over there yet. Okay, but I can look at it, each individual person here, Gretchen Davis, etc. So I could see her salary, bonus, or medical expenses, other medical benefits expense. Sorry, any taxes, etc. It's calculating all that based on assumptions that we've got kind of behind the scenes by year for totals, tax totals, etc. What type of benefit that person's electing, etc. And I can drill down on any one of my employees here, actual versus budget, etc., and look at all that information. I can also go to department summary and kind of see where my department's kind of rolling up in total across the year for each one of those salary line items. And if I want to go to the assumptions and look at the assumptions that I'm using for my budget, here's my salaries by type, my bonus assumptions here by group. And again, if I didn't have security rights to either see this or change it, I wouldn't see it here on this tab. And then finally, I can go to the income statement for the headcount area, so I can see those line items and how they've been updated with any changes that I've made to either actual or budget. Okay. All right. So at this point, we've kind of gone through a lot of the web front end. I'll show you real quick the expense analysis. So again, whether you're looking at actual or budget or your predictive model, you could look at individual detail, drill down to account level detail here. I have the ability to drill through to other areas to get additional detail as well. So if I load up my journal entry detail, or I've got that journal entry detail stored in a table somewhere, I can actually drill through to that directly on the screen. That keeps a lot of questions from going to the accounts payable department on what things were actually paid, etc., journal entries, whatever. I can also go to line item detail. So if you have a particular line item, in this case it's cell phones, that we need to split out detail within the system for either actuals or budget, you could do line item detail for that particular account. It's going to roll those up, so in the income statement it'll show the total, but you can store the line item detail to track it separately for different people, different projects, what have you. The phased costing is a way to kind of push expenses across the year based upon different scenarios. So here we've got rent, utilities, and maintenance. We're spreading it automatically based upon these different methods that are built in the system. So it's either even on Q1, it's flat, same period all year, 4, 4, 5, etc. And it's spreading those expenses, as you'll see here. And then again, we attached an income statement as well, so that anybody looking at this template, they can see kind of where they're sitting at right now for budget versus actual versus different years, etc. Okay. So we've done a lot of work kind of in the web front end, the Planning Analytics workspace tool, but I also wanted to show you real quickly the Excel front end. So I'm going to go over to Excel real quick. And hopefully it'll activate here. And I should have this menu up here that says TM1. That's the engine behind the scenes, TM1 engine behind Planning Analytics. And if I come to this Explorer window, I can actually see all the cubes that I got security access to see, kind of behind the scenes. And if I drill down on any of these, for instance, if I go to income statement reporting, go to dimensions, we can slice and dice the data by currency, by organization, year, month, account, or version, right? And I can open that up, and we'll do that here in a second. We'll actually create a new visualization and a report based off of a cube kind of behind the scenes. But I can also create templates, right? So here we've had a group of users that have created some templates for everybody to use. And I'm going to bring up a report called Management Report. So I'm just double click that. And so the intent is that your users could come to that folder, open up the report. When they click on this drop down here, this drop down will be limited to what they've got security access to see, right? So if I've got access to these regions and these states, this is what I'll see. Got actually access to the whole company, and all that I do is just come recalculate, right? I could set the calculation to automatic if I wanted to, but I could change the year, I could change the month, I could change the different entities, etc. Okay. And again, if I had drill throughs or what have you, I could drill back from this as well. Okay, so drill capabilities. You'll notice these formulas are these DBRW formulas. So whether you're using the new Excel front end, which is called Parfait or Planning Analytics for Excel, or the old Perspectives add-in, which I'm actually showing you right here, these formulas are the same. They are linked back to the cube. So there's a reference up here to the cube name that's pulling, and then it's looking at this organization, this currency, this month, this year, and this account, and then this version for this thing. So you can change those right here in the formulas. There's also a wizard that helps you create that DBRW formula as well. So you're not having to create those from scratch, but you can create whatever reporting you want to in Excel, and then simply save that, and it can become a web page that you bring into the web client if you want to. Okay. You also have the ability over here to create your own visualization. So here I'm going to go to the income statement reporting cube, and I'm going to double click on it, which opens up what's called the cube viewer. Okay. And here I can see the different dimensions in my cube, the things that I can slice and dice the data. So I've got an account, a month, a year, a currency, my organization, and my version. Okay. So here I want to, change this up a little bit. I only care about gross revenue, cost of sales, and maybe net profit, right? And I'm going to get rid of everything else, and I'll click OK. And then I want to bring down my organization dimension. So I'm going to click and drag and drop that right next to my account. And then I'm going to come in here and pick which one of these I want. Well, I want East region, Central, and West, right? And I'll click OK. And I can swap those if I want to, so I can group them together, right? And then maybe I want to see year over year for a particular version on the column. So maybe I want to compare 2020 and 2021 actuals across these accounts for these regions. So I'm going to click and drag that year down, maybe drag it, drop it right there. And I'm going to make the year come first so it groups the months together. All right. There we go. Oh, and then I'm going to just look at 20 and 21. Okay, so I've got my January 20 versus 21, my February 20 versus 21, etc. If this report is meaningful for you and you want to actually bring this into Excel and create something from it, all that you need to do is just click one of these buttons, and it actually transforms that data, brings it into Excel, and it creates those formulas for you. So once it's in Excel, I can do whatever formatting I want to that report. Anything with a plus sign on, I can drill up, drill down, etc. Anything at the top, I could change the version, etc. And make those changes and make this be a starting point for my report that I want to build. I could add columns, I could add rows, I could add any Excel charts, graphs, etc. And all that I need to do is then upload it to one of these folders. And once it's in one of these folders, it's automatically can become a web page. And then you can drag that report directly onto the web front end, and users can access it either from Excel or the web front end as well. There's also the ability to track every transaction behind the scenes. So we talked a little bit about the security, etc. The server is actually storing all of the information behind the scenes that users are coming in and changing. So if seconds, all right. Get the right screen here. There we go. Okay, so I came in and I made some changes to budget. I didn't change actuals, but the system's tracking all of those changes that have been made by each individual person. And if you can look at that log at any point in time and see what people have put in, what they changed a value from, what they changed it to, what cube it impacted, and then what month, what company, et cetera, which version they were looking at. And you have the ability to actually back those transactions out too. So you could, select a block of transactions, and then you can say edit back out. And what that'll do is that'll reverse that transaction and it'll put it back to where it was. Meaning that if somebody goes in and they mess with the data or they screw something up, it's very easy to back that block of transactions out as a system administrator. You don't have to go back to a backup. You don't have to take the system down. You simply select that block of transactions, you can back them out, and then they could start over or redo whatever they were trying to do. So you do have that flexibility where you wouldn't have anything like that in Excel, obviously. Okay. All right. With that, I'm going to jump back over to our PowerPoint. and talk a little bit about if you guys were interested in implementing planning analytics. It's definitely something we could talk to you guys about. There are some different deployment options that IBM has. First, there's a 90-day free trial, so where you can go in and get the full product capabilities in that trial version. Go to ibm.com and search for planning analytics, and you'll come across the free trial. There's some videos and such that kind of guide you through some things. Anything that you build in there, we could take as a starting point in a full implementation, etc. There's a client hosted, so that's basically where you're, it's on either on premise or it's on your own cloud instance, whether that's AWS, etc. But basically, you own the software at that point. There's the IBM Cloud, which is a hosted cloud environment. There's also an on-demand cloud service as well. But within that environment, it's fully managed. So IBM is doing all the upgrades, the backups, etc. It's very easy for finance and accounting users to work with because you're not having to worry about upgrading software periodically or keeping things up and running. IBM's handling all of that. But it is all based on the cloud. And then there's also something called the IBM Cloud Pack for data, so where it's running in containers, kind of behind the scenes. And you can deploy that across, a cloud or hybrid environment as well. If you guys have any questions about these deployment options or planning analytics in general, you can definitely reach out to us. Again, my name is Brendan Austin. My email address is brendan.austin@convergetp.com. And with that, I will open it up for any questions that anybody has.
Brendan, I'm not sure if you saw, we did have a couple questions in the chat from Daryl.
Okay. Go ahead.
Are you able to see them? Or?
I can, yes. So
Okay,
Daryl had a question about sharing sandboxes. I think I saw that come across the screen as I was on it. That functionality is on the docket to be released soon. I don't have an exact date for that, but I know that's been something that's been requested for a while. If you do have stuff in your sandbox, though, now your administrator can copy that sandbox behind the scenes to either a new version or an additional sandbox that somebody else has. There are ways around sharing that data so you don't have to lose it. You could also export all that sandbox data as well to a file. Print reports is the functionality is going away. So what our demo environment, the PAFE or Planning Analytics for Excel version is not working in the demo environment that they give us to work with. So it's still got the old Perspectives client on it that I was showing you guys. That print reports button is still there. It is not supported any longer in the current versions of Planning Analytics. As Cognos Analytics and Planning Analytics continue to merge together into one product, there will be a bursting capability, obviously, from the Cognos Analytics side as well. We also have tools that we sell as well. They're third-party product called ReportWorks that does that bursting for you directly on top of Planning Analytics. So if that's something that is an issue and you need to burst out reports from Planning Analytics, definitely let us know and we can talk to you guys about that. It's not very expensive. It's not a very expensive option, but it does solve that issue of the ability to burst reports that are in Planning Analytics. And I guess that was it. Were there any other questions from anybody? Okay. Annie, do you have anything you need to follow up with?
I just wanted to let everybody know, thank you so much for tuning in. I will get those DoorDash gift cards out to you. I enter them this afternoon. I'm not sure if there is a lag in between. It may take a little bit So if you do not see those by tomorrow morning, please do let me know, but you should see them hopefully this evening. And that's all I have. Thanks,
All
everybody.
right. Thank you.